Nice, good place to start. Whoosh, we're back.
Yeah.
Squeeze the neck, and I'm with my new mate. We don't know how new we are. We've been both been punching a bit. We're not sure where we
Far
first
too
met.
many times,
My
yeah.
new mate, Kieran Leinster. Nice one, bro.
Pleasure, mate, pleasure. How's it going?
Yeah, very well, thank you, mate. And as we was talking about, that we probably met at the Nigel Benn workshop day, but maybe we met before.
Who knows?
And we're drooling and staring off into the sunset, but we're here now. So, as I say, grateful to have you. Shout out to Box Baby. I just was up there, a bit of a miscommunication.
Yeah.
With our mate John. I don't know your surname, mate, but John, very grateful for your warm hospitality.
Just call him Crazy John. Just Crazy
Mad John down at Box Baby. Get yourself down there for a spar. But as I said, we met, to our knowledge, at the Nigel Benn thing, mate, and we're both on the pads having a tear up with the old Dark Destroyer. The fight's coming up at the weekend with his son, which we'll get into. But before we get into any of that, mate, we are secret location, or we're allowed to say where we are today?
Oh, it's at my place over in Clapham.
Over in Clapham.
Yeah.
Close to home, very close to home for me. So tell us about your boxing story, mate, where you're from originally and all that nice stuff.
So growing up, my dad was in the army, so every kind of 3 years you move somewhere new. So growing up, lived all over England, Germany, Cyprus, always about. My dad used to box when he was in the army. He was like the regimental boxing champion. And then, yeah, because you're always moving around, you never really settle enough to get into like the clubs. So normally you move around with like your regiment, but then my dad went on to like long service, so we were moving around in different places, almost like on our own as a family. And then I came to London for university because I wanted to join the Marines straight away, and my mum was like, no. Also, my dad didn't really want me joining the Marines because he's in the army as well. He was like, nah, you're going to join the army.
It's funny you say that. I don't know if you know Barry down at State of Mind.
I used to box pro for Barry.
Right, okay, right, perfect. So
Yeah,
I was down there for
I know
podcast.
Baz really well.
Shout out Barry O'Connell,
Yeah,
great
big
guy.
shout out to Barry.
But we just not that I'm cutting you off, but what comes to mind then? He was what was he in? He
was Marines.
Marines,
He was
because I said
Marines.
to him about 17 times on the podcast when he was in the army. And at the end of it, he was like, "Bro, I was in the Marines." So, I've had that.
He used to love a cheeky little dig at me about my dad as well for that. But yeah, so I know Baz really, really well. But so I basically started boxing and like properly. I did it a little bit when I was younger, like going into training sessions like my dad and stuff, and but never consistently. And then when I got to uni, just wanted to pursue it really. So
fairly late in the game.
Yeah, very late. I was probably like 18 when I started boxing properly. We started it was more of a mixed martial arts gym in Richmond. It was above the train station, Richmond.
I know
it was
them
called.
guys. I've been up there for some podcasts.
Oh, really?
And trained it there actually during lockdowns. Yeah,
so it was called Combat Company back in the day. So now it's rebranded as Elevate. And yeah, it was a great setup, and we had like a really good clique of us, and we'd literally just, because at uni you got no responsibilities, have you? So we just literally stay in there for like 4 or 5 hours a night. We just, like I said, we had this good clique, and we just smash each other up. We'd do boxing for an hour, kickboxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, like everything. And we just, there's about 10 of us, and we just try and batter each other.
Who's the names? You got any names? They might
So like Nathan Jones was there, guy too.
Great
really?
guy, yeah.
You
Bag
had
and
them all.
Tag, yeah, they've all been on
Bag
here.
and Tag, yeah, me and Bag and Tag. We all had like our first fights together. Like,
brilliant.
So when we started, we pretty much came into the gym. I think he was like a couple of months before me. So yeah, me and Nate were very much kind of on the same journey together. And then we basically got a new boxing coach came into the gym. And I just really got on with him. He's called Peter Simon, absolutely awesome boxing coach, meant like fucking crazy as you like. And yeah, I kind of moved off and just started boxing. And then, yeah, he just kept kind of pursuing the MMA, and obviously, he's had a fantastic career, isn't he?
Absolutely.
And then we were there when like Lonnie Kavana, like he was like 12. We used to come into the gym, and we used to call him the little ninja, because he'd come in, he'd be doing like backflips and all this stuff, and he was he was like a little ninja. But he was probably about 12 or 13 when he first came in. I got some pictures, and we were doing like stair sprints up and down the stairs, and it was at that time, you know, this little like altitude training masks.
Oh,
so basically
yeah.
Stop me
Everyone,
breathing.
everyone
We were
just
running up
escaped,
and down in them thinking we were well hard. And and he's literally like up to my hip. He was like tiny. And then look at him now, and he's absolutely smashing it. So
2-0 in UFC, I think, isn't he? He's
and he's off to 2 insane victories in the UFC.
Well, he
as
had the famous one for anyone who doesn't know. Check him out on the Contender Series. He knocks
Yeah,
guys out and does a
literally
backflip,
that. Just like beautiful little little movement there. So yeah, kind of. I started with those guys, and then, like I said, Pete, me and Pete like really got on. So we just started boxing. Went and met Ross Minter, Alan Minter's son. He used to have boxing promotion called Queensbury Boxing, and so I went and did the trials for that.
Is this the thing that was like Epsom Racetrack and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Kind of
Copthorne Hotel and that. The shows were incredible, and so when it first started there, it was so professionally done. It was better than any of the promotions that I actually boxed on as a pro. Like beautiful, like the venues are obviously beautiful. All the pre and post fight press conferences and stuff were excellent. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was. Yeah, so my whole introduction to boxing was just all white collar. But
why boxing, not MMA? Why didn't you go down that route if you was around them guys?
Because I kick like a donkey, mate.
Is that right?
I just can't kick.
How about grappling? Didn't fancy that either?
No, I love grappling. I really liked it. So I had my first ever fight was a Muay Thai fight, and then I had like 3 fights in like 6 weeks. I had a boxing fight, an MMA fight, and a boxing fight.
Okay, so you have done it.
And it was
right.
yeah. So I've done them, and I won the fight, but. All my other fights, the Muay Thai fight, it was all I wanted through boxing. Boxing was much more natural to me.
Yeah, okay.
Like, it just came as second nature. I loved the little roll around and stuff, don't get me wrong, but I was never the most skillful. It was actually quite funny, looking back at, like, Nath now, he's a black belt in Jiu Jitsu, which is insane thinking back to that. But, yeah, and if I'm honest, boxing was just much more natural. I actually enjoyed it more, and it was much more, it was second nature almost to me. I had like, it was more congruent with like the movement. It just felt more normal than, like I say, kicking and taking down and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then like I said, so we just kind of pursued that, and I just kept going from strength to strength really, and I had like a really good first run. I think I won my first 16 fights, fought some really like good opposition. The first fight I ever lost was against, so it was like, it was my 16th fight, and it was against a guy called Gareth Gardner who'd had 120 bounce, used to fight for England, GB, all of this. And he was a bit older, and I think he was early 30s when we fought then, so he was about 10 years older than me. And I literally had him a really close fight. Like, as I was raising our hands at the end, like his eye was out here, but he beat me on points. Questionably, you know, it's the nature of the sport, isn't it?
What was this? You said white collar started.
So that was Queensbury. That was Queensbury Boxing.
But the level was quite good from what I understand.
Fantastic.
Right?
Yeah. So you used to get a lot of like ex-pros in there. At the time, it was probably it was if not one of the only like quality boxing shows around.
Because that's what I thought. I never went to one, but one of my mates who I'd boxed with in the amateurs, who was like a real high-level amateur.
Yeah.
I think he was one-on-one on Queensbury, and I found that strange because he was a real good amateur. And I remember, like, you know what it's like. Well, maybe not. I don't know. When you're in the amateurs, sometimes you look down at the old white collar, like.
Yeah,
you know
well,
I mean?
That's what it is. Because I kind of say that now. It's like.
Sorry, let's just turn that up, mate. Just so it's facing your face. That's it. We're all good.
There you go. So yeah, I say that about white collar now because it's I do kind of put it into 2 categories. You've got your white collar, and then you've got unlicensed. So I see that kind of boxing as unlicensed boxing.
Right, gotcha.
And then your white collar is that kind of chump to champ. The things like you get all the fat blokes that are doing, they're like, I need to sort my life out, and then they go and they do these like 6-week camps, and then they just go and slap each other in like the Troxy, and it's normally over in the Troxy or something.
Shout out to Troxy if that's still going. I don't know if that's still going, but that's
that was where I had my first ever MMA fight.
Really?
Was in the Troxy.
I might have been there. I used to go to some of them.
Yeah, it was like, do you remember the geese that was seeing like Katie Price was like Alex Reed?
Yes, of course.
He was one interviewing him in between rounds, and I was like, what? Look at this. Yeah, quite amusing.
Because it's like you said about the white collar. My experience of being around white collar at shows, I've been very limited in terms of what I've done. I was actually in a corner of someone. Shout out Tom Farag, great night. But it was very much like what you'd expect it to be in terms of, not I'm knocking it, but like a low level, like blokes that aren't real fighters that are just turning up for a tear up type thing, with a couple on the card that sort of look like they might have had 2 bouts or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But then I've been around some people that are white collar boxers and done some sparring and whatever, and you go like, how the fuck are you a white collar boxer? You're good. Do you know what I mean?
But that's it, because I mean, on that show we had like one of Billy Joe Saunders' cousins called Ruben Giles. Like he dropped down, he had a couple of fights on there, and he was 6-0 as a pro. It's
Fabio
quality.
Wardley was the one that really perked my ears.
Fabio Wardley again, yeah.
Go,
So
Jesus.
and that's the thing is, and then looking at even from my stable with Baz, like obviously when went pro over at State of Mind, and we had like Don who was there. He was an exceptional, but we're probably one of those probably the most talented boxers there. Only had a few white collar fights. Dom Felix again, Curtis Felix, them two. Curtis Felix fought for the English title. All just white collar boxing backgrounds.
Yeah, because it is a different game now.
And that's how I know it's quite funny. Yeah, it was like so. It was Dom Felix who pulled me over to State of Mind, and so there's me, him, so his brother Curtis Felix, and then another lad called Bradley Spencer. All of us used to fight on the same kind of like white collar scenes. All of them, and then most of them are like 9, 10 and 0, 10 and 1. Like they've all got really good pro records.
Yeah.
All fought at very good levels.
It's interesting that, isn't it? Because I guess the show makes a big part of it too. Because like I went to no names, but like a low-level white collar. Like it was a great night out because everyone on it was so bad. Do you know? What I mean? You know what I'm saying? But it was like the level was bad, but but the show was great. It was better than a lot of pro shows I've been to.
But like that's what I mean. For some of them, so Curtis Felix, he fought an English title eliminator, and it was in like a fucking town hall in Tottenham, and it was like pop-up plastic chairs, no bar, nothing. Like people bringing fucking sandwich bags of like food. And you're like, how is this a professional show for an English title eliminator? Like, what the fuck is this?
Mental, isn't it? Well, it's like pro's a funny term as well, isn't it? Because like we all know.
Yeah, I mean,
you'll speak to this.
It's the most.
How much are you actually a pro? Like you're fighting as a professional boxer, but you've got to sell tickets.
Well, it's like what Baz always used to say. It's like it's the most unprofessional professional sport.
Right.
Because you're not. You're essentially a glorified ticket seller.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like the amount of lads that say don't sell enough tickets and end up having to pay to fight. Yeah. It's like how do you call that a professional sport?
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? Because like, you get guys out there like what's the guy named the rich fella who's fought? He was like David Hayes' mate. He had an exhibition with Joe Fournier.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Like, no, I don't know.
So he had an exhibition with David Hay a little while ago. Now, from what I understand, he's a billionaire. If he's not a billionaire, he's very, very rich.
Yeah,
he's made his fortune in nightclubs, whatever. But he's like apparently he's got some wins on his record. Dates that he wasn't even in the country for, and it's like a squirrely record, and people are questioning it, and people apparently are taking down. I don't know. I'm not there.
Yeah,
right?
but that's the thing is there's a lot of weird things that don't make any sense. So it was like my last pro fight. It was light middle, and it was against a journeyman, and I was literally just chasing this geezer around the ring, and I probably counted it. You hit me about 3 times, and at the end, then I was just like, put my hands up, and I was like, how can you not? And I gave it to him, and he was like, what? Like, are you blind? Even my promoter was like, my promoter was just like, you definitely went. Like, everyone was like, how did you like? And they're kicking off a fuss, but you can't argue with it because it's the British Boxing Board of Control's referee, and the referee. And again, you're professional boxing, yet the referee is the one who's scoring what's going on there.
Which is the most bizarre.
And then looking back at BoxRec, he then didn't even come in on weight. So I
funny.
fought a light middle. My natural weight was middle, and we cut down to light middle for this fight. And this geezer came in at middleweight, and you're like, no one told me about that on the night. Do you know what I mean? So I would have come in heavy.
Yeah. And what's the? Because you're a fairly big lump for middleweight, let alone light middle. What's that like making that?
60. So it was 69 kilos. So what's that? 154 pounds. Yeah.
And what are you now?
So
sat here today with me?
Oh mate, I'm probably about 82, 83.
Yeah. So
like
to get down to.
I used to walk around probably about 77 to 79.
Big drop, isn't it?
Like, yeah, it's
if
a
you're
big
in shape,
cut.
it's a big drop.
Yeah. It was. I had a bloody fight. One of my fights fell through, so I ended up having like a fucking 6-month camp for this fight. So it kind of just progressively came off just from training all the time.
Right.
But again, you're losing. You're not losing good like tissue. You're losing muscle mass and. Yeah. So like you're filthily shredded, but you're not exactly like big bulker as now. You can put a bit of weight on and
you're not waking up
get like
you're not waking up in the morning with a lot going on.
Yeah, exactly.
There in the morning,
yeah, exactly.
But like if you go back to sort of, you had 3 pro fights in the end, right?
Yeah.
So like when you went back to turning pro, what's the thought process behind it? Are you like, right, I'm gonna be the best thing since Muhammad Ali, or are you just like, I'm in it for a laugh?
Like it was one of them is that you dedicated like so. Because I was quite old when I got into it, I dedicated myself to this sport so much. I was so rigid with everything. I would train probably twice a day most days. I was a bit probably too neurotic about how like much I got into it and how serious I was with my training and everything. Like sacrificed loads of like going out with friends, all of that sort of stuff. I kind of loved it, and then that was it. And I was like, yeah, right, we can make this happen. And my goal was to just get a Southern Area title, which I reckon I was more than capable of. And then obviously got kind of kicked down because of lockdown, which kind of threw a massive spanner in the works for everyone. But no, I think when I turned over, I've come off the back of some really good wins as well, and the kind of that white collar scene. And I was like, yeah. So I had like probably my best highlight reel knockout, which is this lad called Ali Rahman, and like literally failing with the jab finish. He had a really like sloppy jab, so he'd throw his jab and he'd pull it back to his hand. He's really good. He's really good. He's out boxing me. 100% was out, but like he's a much better boxer than me. And everyone knows me. I'm much more of say like a box fighter, so I like prefer being in the pocket. And he was moving around really nicely, but I noticed he had a bit of a sloppier jab, and then I just kind of feinted with the jab, stepped in, and he kind of made him, like force him to throw the jab, and he pulled it back, and as he pulled it back, I just came over with a beautiful right hand. Best like my highlight reel knockout. Had that win, and then I also beat a lad. I had a fucking horrible fight. Probably took years off my mental health with a lad called Troy Coleman, who was a beast, and had a really close fight with him. A really close fight, and it was a war. But absolutely fantastic fight. He actually just won. He was on the undercard at the weekend.
Oh, was he?
The
Okay.
Ben Whittaker fight,
yeah.
fighting for the Midlands area title.
All right,
So again,
okay.
actually, what you were saying about then, he won the Midlands area title with a beautiful, not like with a stoppage. Sorry. So like, yeah, I was off the back of some like good wins and stuff, and I was like, yeah, we can really do something with this. And then, and then kind of. Lockdown came around, and I just brought a flat with my ex-girlfriend, and then like it starts to change, doesn't it? Because obviously lockdown came around, I had a couple of good sponsors, and they were like, we need to save our money now, like we can't do anything. And then you're a bit like, oh fuck's sake.
Come
so
on, guys.
yeah, do you know what I mean? And it's one of those. It just
Loyalty's dead, isn't it? What's the matter with people?
yeah, but and it kind of puts his life into perspective, and you're just like, realistically, I was kind of I was like 29 and 30, like I was 30 at the end of lockdown, on like 2021.
So what does that make you now? What, 33,
So I'm
34?
33 now, yeah. So, and I think that's like, it's not saying that it's this young man's game, it's a young man's game as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
But how do you feel at 33? Do you feel like you're getting older, or you still feel
no,
fresh?
100%, man. I'm still a child at heart. 100% would happily kind of get into it, but it's more now trying to find the time. Because
Right.
now you've got, like, now I'm older, I've got much more, like, financial responsibilities. Like, I can't just train twice a day, every day, a week,
right.
for like 6 days of the week. Because you need to train, you need to recover. Like, that's the thing, is when we're training with Baz, like, it was very, very regimented. Obviously, you know what Baz is like, being a Marine. We had a very strict training program, and we were all absolutely like super fit because of that, which is obviously what you needed. But if you can dedicate yourself to that, then that's fine. Like, it was good once I had like a couple of good sponsors, because it meant then I didn't have as much pressure. But still, trying to do what you're doing and then trying to make money, it just doesn't really work, does it?
Right.
And again, it's a fucking hard sport. It's a hard way to make a living.
Especially if it's not your full living, right?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
then you gotta go
And especially
home.
if you're selling tickets, fine, crack on. If you're selling 100 plus tickets, you'll do all right, because at least by the time fight night comes around, after paying off your management, your promoters, your opponent for your first however many fights, and you can still walk away with enough money to be happy with, like walk away with best part of $1,000, let's say.
And that's even that, like when you say it out loud like that.
Yeah,
like
like if you
for a
sell
fight.
100 tickets normally, because so what I had to do for tickets for me was 66 tickets to make the fight, 88 tickets to get your purse, 88 tickets just to get paid.
That's a lot.
I don't even know if I can just about know 88 people.
I was going to say, yeah, I'm calling him famous for it.
Yeah. So, and then obviously it depends, obviously, because it's on the actual money of that. So I think that works. I think 66 works around about $3,500 or something. Say times that by 50, and then obviously the 88s get paid. So if you sell, say, like ringside tickets, it's less because they're obviously more expensive and stuff. But yeah, if you're just selling normal tickets, it was 66, 88, and then anything over the 88 you get 50% of. So we had boys in the gym there that were selling like 200-300 tickets.
Right.
And they were just balling.
I was going to say they're balling.
They're just sitting there, just like, let it rain, and
They're getting Uber X to
and then
venue.
there's other, like, and I said, and there's a few of the other boys, and it's like I always kind of would sell between kind of like 90. I would always like
So you were there.
scrape by.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
get
yeah.
through. I'd get a bit of money at the end, and that's the thing. But then obviously you get, like, I think your purse will be 1,200, and then obviously off the back of that, got paid Bads, got paid my 2 corner men. And then you've got to then think about, okay, is that enough money to then fight again, considering that I can't work full on for all that time? Do you know what I mean?
It's mental, isn't it? Because it's like you said, sometimes with that level of training, you've got to just come home and sleep, haven't you, and just do nothing and not talk to no one. Yeah, because but maybe now's the time to get back into some grappling,
and then Fridays was we'd do like away sparring day. So on Fridays we'd be travelling over to like East Ham Boxing Club or fucking Peacocks, or we just travel all over the place. Going down to like Swindon, to that fucking gym, whatever, I can't remember the name of it. In Swindon, we used to spend like, so you get around a bit, going down to like Camberley and stuff. Like, so every Friday we do like an away spar, because Baz like puts hairs on your chest.
Right, yeah, lead in your pencil.
Because you know to do like because you get used to sparring with the same sort of people, and it was good. Like Baz was really well connected, so we got some awesome sparring in through Baz. Like Baz had some amazing connections. I got to move around with like Josh Kelly, Luke Campbell. We get loads of people into the gym for sparring, so we always had some of the best sparring. But when you're doing it at home, I don't know, you just have almost like the home comforts in your gym.
Yeah,
as soon as you walk into another gym, it's like walking into East Ham. There's like 3 of you, and it's like you walk through the door and everyone just stops and turns. You're like, it's going to be a long day.
Here we go. Yeah, wrong side of the river, boys.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's funny when you say that about like Baz and stuff, like connected. Like for anyone who doesn't know, we're talking about Barry O'Connell. He was in the corner for George Groves against Carl Froch and all that kind of business, wasn't he? So with that comes like the obvious advantages, but it's like you're touching on there. It's like the pressure as well, isn't it? If you're coming with him, people are going, oh, he's one of Barry's boys.
Yeah,
stuff like
so
that.
yeah, 100%. And that's the one thing that everyone knew, is like, if you're one of Baz's boys, you are gonna be fit. So you'd always get pushed, and then that's but then it's also, there's a pride to that as well, because you're like, it's that home pride, state of my fitness. You never wanna let your team down per se. Like you always wanna come and you wanna show up. But it's one of those. Whenever you're doing like an away spar, you always go right. They always start like nice and easy, lads.
Oh, yeah,
within about 2 minutes, you're just like whoa, just ripping shots in like
The classic. And do you know what sticks? I don't even know where I was. We went sparring once. I was at sparring, and I think it was at our club actually at Earlsfield. The guy was on. I believe it was Finchley, I might be wrong on this, but either way, it doesn't really matter. I think they came to Earlsfield for sparring, and their coach was on the ropes, and exactly what you just said. As soon as it started, he stepped down from the rope because it was too fucking wild and going all over the place. So that gives you the idea of how it goes, doesn't it?
But then it's also, you say that, sometimes it's just the spars you have in the gym with just the boys who you train with all the time, but sometimes the absolute worst. They're the worst, but they're the best. As in, they're the worst because they're like savage and you're just having it out. But afterwards, it's like, I don't know, it's just that sense of camaraderie, like something about that. When you dig deep against your mates and you just know what each other are made of, and it's just you get like, it's a profound connection that you never get doing anything else.
No, exactly.
And people like, you just kick fuck at your friends and you're like, yeah, try to.
Yeah, I'm like, I am a stupid myself.
Yeah. I was like, it might sound really, really bizarre, but yeah, and as a result, like, I don't know, we're closer than ever.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was going to say boxing, but combat in general, they're unique in certain ways in the gyms, like for anyone who's ever played football or anything. You get close to people, don't you? But it's different, isn't it? It is a different thing, because the way you train is obviously a lot harder, but there's a funniness about the gym as well in certain ways too, and there in terms of like, we're mates, we spar a lot, but sometimes if we've had some tough spars, there is a little bit of like, he's my mate, but you're fucking next time. I tell you what.
Yeah, yeah, you always have that. You're like, he caught me with that.
Yeah,
he caught me with that.
I
remember I've had some incredible spars, and one of the lads there, who's called Don. And I remember like one of the first spars we did, he threw this lovely little jab and I did a little slip back, pulled it and knocked his headgear off.
Yeah.
And you can just see the look in the eyes. You just see he's like, you want to play that game, yeah? You were like, and then it's like that's the first of 6 rounds. You're like, here we go, here we go. It's like, yeah, we just leveled that one up, and then for the next 5 rounds, it's just absolutely, let's go for it.
Yeah, don't leave it in the gym, kids. You'll end up like one of them guys stuttering and forgetting your name. Like, we've already forgot where we met. We only met a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Exactly.
But if you go to sort of like the end of your career, like, and you said it was lockdown, like, is it the end of you close the door on it? It's done?
Yeah. I would like, I don't know. I probably toy with the idea of having another fight and that daily. I'm like, do you know, I could have one more. Like, I hate the fact that I'm going out on like a loss per se, and again, that's just fucking ego, innit? You just been like, oh yeah, mate. But that's the thing. Again, it's trying to find the time now with what I'm doing with work, with Aries. Like, it's trying to find the time to be able to train full time. Because again, as we all know, like you don't play, but like it's not the sort of sport where you can go in a little bit unfit or a little bit whatever because you're going to get found out.
100% and hurt. Like,
And exactly.
This is not a sport.
And that's the thing, like my granddad died of Alzheimer's as well. So as you were saying there, I can't remember where the fuck we met each other.
We're not really 30s.
Yeah. I'm just like, oh Christ, here we go. It's slippery slope, you know.
Well, before this, but for anyone, it was off camera. I asked you if I saw you the other day driving past me on a line bike, and we kind of couldn't work out whether it was us or not. But
that's it.
That's where we're at this point.
Makes us feel better. It was me.
It wasn't me.
Yeah.
But like when I was saying like coming into lockdown, had you already made your mind up it was done by that? Or
No, not at all. So it was probably towards the end of lockdown anyway. I think, it got towards the end of lockdown and I was just like, I don't know, it was tough. Because I still think the year out of lockdown, I was still quite on it. I was still, like I was over in, I was working at a gym called Box Clever. And the guy, the owner of that was, I think he had his pro training license or whatever. And he was always talking about getting like training some pros and stuff. So I was kind of always, I was like, oh, do you know what, I might, and I was always trained, always kept fit, but then it never materialised to me. I never had that pushing force. So I'm like, right, come on, let's have a fight. Or like, I just never really had that driving force. And then, it kind of just got to the point and I was like, I don't know what I like try. And then again, now at the point where it's like I'm so busy, I genuinely wouldn't know where to find the time. When just about squeezing time to train myself and keep myself like in shape and fit. So to try and then level it up and be like war ready. That's Because again, I get like really neurotic about it. Because if I went into the ring, I wouldn't be able to go in any less of a fucking savage than when I used to go in, you know. You have to go back into those fucking dark places.
But mate, you're young. Now's the time. Don't get 10 years on and regret it.
It is. I mean? It is.
Because you know what you've done. Now I've got your number. I'm going to be like, fucking
mate,
sending you Eye of the Tiger clips every day. Come on, Kieran.
I'm here for it. I need that shit just to get me going in the morning, mate.
Run past your ass, knock on the door like, hey, come on, son.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of them, but it is one of those, like, you never know. Because that's the thing, like, looking at one of the lads who used to box with, Dom Felix, and, like, he's in his 40s, and, he still has the odd fight every here and now. Yeah. So, like, you get that desire there, but obviously, so with what we're doing with Aries now, with the boxing gloves and everything, like, we're still very much involved in it. Right. So, I mean, I still train a lot, and I still, like, love that, and now kind of having that, I'm still very involved in boxing, which kind of tickles that fancy for me. Yeah,
and tell us about that. You said what you're involved in now. What's Aries and stuff?
So Aries is like premium boxing gear. So do like incredible like boxing gloves, hand wraps. So when I was boxing, I always used to wrap like sponges and stuff into my wrap, as everyone probably has, like some form of sponge or whatever to protect your knuckles. And so me and my business partner, we set this up being like, we'd love to get into like selling like boxing gloves, all this sort of stuff. But because the boxing glove scene, I just find it's a bit dead. Like it's a little bit, the gloves are a little bit like, there's nothing really exciting. Then you're looking at, if you want a really nice pair of gloves, like that look good, they're like fucking £300-400. And you're like, that's a bit fucking spendy for what it is, and it's not in real leather and stuff. Right. So it's just like, why can't you get like elite level gloves without like that elite price tag? And that was kind of been our moniker, if you say, is it really makes like special gloves that obviously look really sexy as well. But I'm going to cost you an absolute fortune. Like, I'm going to cost you an arm and a leg. So yeah, we've been doing that. And obviously, when we kind of started getting the ball rolling and sort of building momentum on it, I was just like, why don't we just make a wrap where you just slip your knuckles in and you have this knuckle protecting like hand pad within the wrap. And I was like, I can't believe no one does this. And so we've done that, and then literally they're selling like absolute hotcakes now, because everyone's just like, yeah, it's just like, it's the most obvious thing. And I was just like, it's so obvious. I'm so surprised no one's ever done it. But then you look at someone like Fly charge you 40 quid or whatever for just his little knuckle pad, and then they sell you another, like, it's something like 20 or 30 quid just for their wrap. Or you have to look at Fortress, which are, like, again, they're like 80, 90 pound for that glove wrap, and yeah, they're really good, but again, it's still a bit like, it comes in about 4 parts. You have to put your hand into this bit, get the wrap around this bit, but this, and it's like, why can't they just make like a really straightforward thing? So we've obviously got our like our hand wraps, and we sell like we're selling like loads of those a day now, which is excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's really on.
Yeah, so we're working with like we work with some lads called like those boxing bros who are like some like boxing influencers,
Nice.
and they made like a really cool video for us, and that's blown up. And yeah, been like giving them to like a few pro boxing stuff we've been working with, and yeah, it's really started to build momentum. So we launched Black Friday. So we launched kind of start of December, just gone, and so yeah, like kind of 5 months in now, and it's really like every month we're kind of building, improving. It's a fun journey. It's a really
cool,
fun
mate.
journey.
We'll put all the links in below the description.
Yeah,
and tag you in that and all that
100%,
stuff, mate.
100%.
And we're like pump that as much as we can, because with this kind of thing, I'm talking about the podcast. Like where you meet these people, I've been blessed and lucky to meet everyone, and I'm not trying to sound like a hippie or anything here, but you know, like I honestly haven't met anyone that I go arsehole yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
everyone you meet,
yeah.
and like because I'm trying to avoid the word of energy. It's what I'm trying to avoid. You know, when you go like everyone's got a good energy, and I'm switching off. But it is that kind of vibe. So yeah, anything we can pump out for that, let's
100%.
do it. But like going forward and stuff like that, you said lockdown was sort of the end of your own personal career, but you're still somewhat involved in boxing. Are you looking to be a coach in boxing and stuff like that?
So yeah, I do a lot of like kind of strength and conditioning work with boxers. So I've been working with, I work a lot of like white collar fighters, doing a lot of like coaching for them, and then S&C work, and then been doing some S&C work with some pro fighters and stuff as well. So yeah, like I just love being involved in that, you know, kind of almost like live my life through them. I'm like, yeah, go on, get in there, get stuck in.
Change, because you're talking like you're 50. Like we got to do something. You're younger than me. Do you know what I mean?
What about you? You fight again?
Yes, I've got some things coming up. I'll talk about it more off. But yeah, it's not it's a secret or anything. But just so it's not, it's not about me, right? It's about you while we're sitting here. But yeah, I've got a few things coming up that might be getting back in there. But like with like fighting and stuff, what amazes me when I talk to people a lot, not amazes me on one end, but the other end is like people are either I'll never miss a fight, I watch every fight go, or they go, no, I've got no interest. Like I've done mine and I don't do it. Do you watch fights?
Well, again, so I used to when I used to box anyway, especially in my lower like my early 20s and stuff. I used to just study it. I used to just watch all of the big fights, and I just sit there and study because I just loved it. I really, really enjoyed it, and like I said, my coach used to always kind of push me to do that as well. He'd be like, you need to watch this guy, watch this guy, watch this guy. Like, and so I used to love, I used to really, really enjoy it. And I went through a time, I think when, it's probably about halfway through lockdown when I actually was just like, I'm probably gonna like, give this up. Don't get me wrong, like even through after, I was like, maybe I'll have a comeback. Maybe I'll have it like, but then it was probably like through lockdown, it really did start to hit home. And then, I never wanted to, I was just like, I was like, it's the business side of boxing that killed it for me. Right. That really killed my passion. So I think for probably about a year, I don't think I really picked up any gloves. I did pad work and stuff with my clients and stuff like that. But the actual thought of, I don't know, like just like hardcore training and stuff, I was just like, I've got no interest in it. Because again, like we used to get like savaged by Baz. Like Baz is those sessions, like our Triple G sessions and all of this. Like anyone who's been through that will laugh and be like, yeah, we feel your pain.
Is that right? I've never actually trained with Baz, but we spoke about it. I've got to get down there.
Yeah, Baz is savage. He was like, well, that's what he was on for, because he was George Groves, essentially his fitness trainer. So like Paddy and that, didn't he? But and he's a Marine, and the guy's an absolute savage.
And he's a Marine, not the army.
Don't say that. He don't like that. He'll chin you for that, honestly. But so like Baz was like really, really regimented. So we had a really sort of like our solid week plan was excellent. Like I say, so we were all super fit come fight night.
And as you should be, right? Because
fitness wins fights. This is what a lot of people underestimate. Is like fitness does win fights, because if you think about it, if you can punch for harder and faster for longer and not slip up, because again, fitness is also your ability to read a fight, read what's going on, and move out the way of oncoming punches as well as punch. So if you can take less damage and give more damage, you're gonna smash it up, and that was probably why I was so good in the lower, right, like say in my kind of unlicensed days, and I think the reason I got so many knockouts is because I was so much fitter than everyone,
right? And
I just put the pressure on from the get go. I knew I was like, I'll give you the first 2 rounds, because I'll just stay on your chest, I'll make you move, I'll just work your body, and then I knew you just look at the state of people come the 3rd round and they'd be like. And I'm like, it's game time. I'm like, I've not even got my second win yet.
Yeah,
and
it's
then that's
interesting.
why. And that's why I got so many knockouts.
How many did you end up having before you went pro?
So I had 33 fights.
Serious amount of fights.
33 fights, yeah.
Because like a lot of people, like coming from unlicensed white collar, whatever you want to call it, they're like, a lot of them do have sort of 6 or 7, don't they? And they tell all their mates that they're like,
oh, I'm going to go pro, and you're like...
And you watch them, they can't even hit pads properly and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Like 30 is a serious... I don't think I've ever heard anyone have that many white collar
I think about 33 in total, and then, and then kind of... turned over after
That's
that.
interesting. And I tell you what interests me, speaking to a lot of different people and having my own opinion from experience and whatnot, is I feel like a lot of people can get overcoached as well. In terms of like, you touched on it a little bit in what you're saying of like how you overwhelm people and stuff, because I was very much like that as well. Like I definitely beat people that were better than me. I beat them because I just stuck it on them, you know? Whereas a lot of people, I feel like nowadays, they do too much of the pretty stuff, but then when they spar, they're always... Not that they're making excuses consciously, but they've always got this thing of like, a bit tired today, and they've always got like a sore knee. I'm being a bit stereotypical here, but you know what I'm talking about, right? There are people
it's called fucking weakness, mate.
There you go.
It's called weakness.
Yeah,
call it what you want to call it, but it's called just being a bottle job. That's what Baz used to say. You're being a bottle job. Like, as soon as you start making excuses, you bottle in it.
Right.
Like, because anyone who's competed at a half decent level will know that by the time you get into the ring, you just want to because you're injured to fuck because of how hard you push yourself. And the thing with boxing, well, of all combat sports, is you're in a calorie deficit as well. So your body doesn't have the energy or even the materials to actually perform properly or perform adequately. So you're all nursing tweaks, you're all nursing injuries, but it's one of those sports where you get so close to it, you can't be like, oh no, I can't. Like Don Phillips got his nose broke before, like 2 weeks out from a fight, and he fought with a fucking broken nose. It's like I think that's one of the only ones he might have pushed it, but he only pushed it back a few weeks.
Yeah.
Just to let the swelling go down.
Yeah.
And the thing is, because people have paid tickets, and it's not like these big shows where you've got these promoters, and no matter what, you're getting paid by Adidas thousands of pounds just to sit there and look good. It's like, if you don't fight on that night, you're not getting paid, and you're dedicated so much of your time, your energy, your life to this sport and to that one fight that if you don't fight, you're literally going to be pushed for cash. You'll be strapped for cash.
It's interesting that.
Because a lot of people rely on that money that comes in from fights.
And that's what, as you say, when you step up the levels. Like I don't know if you know Troy Williamson, sorry.
Yeah.
Boxed recently. Shout out Troy, you are, mate. He was on here, and he's obviously boxed at a good level in the pros, British champion, light middleweight, all that kind of stuff. But he said he had a fight fall out. And I can't remember the circumstances, what it was, but I don't think it was his fault. There was something, and they pushed the fight back and all that kind of stuff. But he said like it got to a level where his sponsors still took care of him. So that was all right. Whereas
that's the thing. When you get to that point, that's what you want. Like that's where you want to be, because again, it's just that pressure. Like, whereas a lot of people who don't have any sponsorship, don't have anything, it's like if a fight falls through, again, when you say, when we were training with Baz, you do every day from 10 till 12, 10 till 1. We'd have our set session for the day on like Wednesdays, Fridays. That would be sparring and then you'd have an evening session as well. So it's like, for us, a lot of us would be who are PTs, say, you'd go from work from 6 till 9, fucking then go straight to training, train for a couple of hours, go back, work a little bit, train again in the evening, doing like, it's normally a fitness session in the evening, like your runs or whatever, your daily prayers, that sort of stuff. And then probably work a little bit after, and then you go to, and so it's like, you're physically fucked.
It's hard, yeah.
All the time, like, and that's it. And because again, you're like, and so you're kind of reliant, like you've got that enough money from what you're doing work-wise to keep you going, and then it's that little extra bit of cash that you get after a fight like that kind of, I don't know, just sweetens the deal almost.
So it's almost like that's not what you're doing for a living. That's just.
And
like
then it's also just letting people down, like, because ticket sales are so much. So if a fight falls through, and then honestly, something about that fight falls through on the next date when it could be, everyone will have to be, and everyone, like, it's just Sod's law. Everyone's like, oh, I'm actually on holiday. There's always something comes up, and you're like, for fuck's sake. It's so stressful. And that was one of the hardest things, was the actual business side of it was just draining, like trying to sell tickets and you almost feel like a pest to your friends. You're like, you said you're going to buy like 4 tickets, mate. Come on, do you want these tickets? And they're like, oh no, my cat's nan's fucking auntie needs surgery. And you're like, what?
Yeah. Oh, mate.
And they're like they come out with everything. It's like, it's so much stress, mate.
I'll tell you what, I wasn't even selling tickets. It was on an amateur show. Just asking a group of mates to come. And all 4 of them, there was 4 blokes, right? You know you are, you fucking you slippery fucks. But they was all coming, right? All 4 of them together. They all didn't come, and they all did exactly the same thing to me. Bear in mind, as I say, this is not making money. This is just amateur bouts. But I turned up. They're not there. All right, whatever. You've got other things to worry about, right? And then after, I'd messaged them back 3 days, whatever, before the fight. And they messaged all 4 of them within 20 minutes the day after. They was obviously together somewhere in a caf after a night out. They all messaged me, oh, sorry, mate, just seen this. Sorry, mate, just seen it. You know, you go, what, you ain't looked at your phone for 4 days? What, am I stupid or something? And like, that's without money. Do you know what I mean? So if people, you're trying to take money off people, you've got no hope, have you? Like, if you've got 100 guarantees, how many of them come through? 40 maybe?
If you're lucky.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
If you're lucky, yeah.
It's a tough game, But where you saying there about like the training and how hard it is and stuff like that, I feel like a few years ago, there was a bit of a, like hipster vibe, for lack of a better term, of like people, you know, where you don't have to spar nowadays. It's about training smarter, not harder, and all that kind of stuff, which I feel like is dying down a bit, and I think it should, right?
I think it's a tough one, because there's some elements to boxing training that are still just so stuck in the dark ages, and there's no benefit to it. And I think a lot of it is people want to look hard, don't they? Like I don't know. There's 2 aspects to training that you've got to think about, actually. So just kind of on this note. So you've got one, which is your really beneficial kind of training, which is going to be the sort of training that's going to really push you skillfully and push your fitness levels. But then you've also got another form of training which kind of touches on this, which is like that kind of more old school training, which is mindset training. And you do need both. You do need those sessions where it might not improve you skillfully or like fitness level wise, but you just need to get beasted sometimes, because you need to know that when you want to give up, you need to learn to push through that, because you're going to have so many times in the ring where, I don't know, shit's not going your way, or you need to know that you have just got a bulletproof mindset that no matter what the fuck happens, you're not going to give up. And so there's that kind of training where it's those like old school just beastings where you're crawling out the gym, which, you shouldn't be doing those all the time, which is I think what people basically used to always do, is just you go in there and you get absolutely smashed and you crawl out. But you do also need those, because that is where you learn about yourself, and it's always better to learn about yourself training in the gym than when you get into the ring and think, oh, don't want to do this.
Yeah, no, and I couldn't agree more, and the reason I say it, like as I said earlier, I'll tell you some stuff off, but like not to make this about me, but I'm in sort of like a pre-camp thing at the moment, right? And I feel like, we've all been there. Like, you wake up some days and you're like, I can't fucking move today. I can't get to the fucking 100%. Bathroom to brush my teeth. Yeah. But you end up that day training 3 times. Because it's just like, there's an element of, this hurts, that's sore, whatever, but you've got to just go. And I find personally, and I think we're all probably the same, in terms of once you're in that kind of, you're going to do it type mindset, I feel like injuries heal faster. I feel like everything feels better, and you just push through. Whereas other times where I've gone like, right, okay, I'm going to take an easy week this week, right? And today I'm going to have a rest day, and I'm going to let this chill out. At the end of that week, I feel worse than I did at the start of it, because. But
there was a week. There are those sessions. I've had a few of those sessions where you're like, I'm going to take it easy today, and it's always that session. I remember, there's this one session I remember so vividly, and it was, I think this was in the run up to my fight with Troy Coleman, and I was training over at a gym. It was called Two Kings ABC. It's over in Kingston. And there's a lad who used to train there. It's called Danny Darko. It's called Dan Benike. He's fought like Harlem Eubank and stuff. Okay. Like he was a Southern Area champion. Shit hot. He was mustard. And I walked in. I was like, I'm going to leave all my sparring kit in the car. I'm like, I'm just going to take my bag gloves. I'm just going to have an easy one. Walk in the door. First thing said, "Hey, Kieran, do you want some rounds?" And I was like. Like everyone knows you can't just fucking. I'm gonna have an easy
roughly
one.
Translated, I'm gonna get in a ring now.
Yeah. And then obviously he's just like, go on then. Like obviously you just got to front it up, haven't you? Oh. So and it's just like, yeah, go on then, mate. Yeah, I'll do a few. Like kind of going in and thinking, oh, come on, I just only get like 3 or 4 rounds. End up doing like 12 rounds. I'm probably one of the best sessions I've ever had. Yeah. Like, I was really not, like, honestly, I could tell you the drive up to that thing, I was not feeling like sorry for myself, but I was like, I was going to take it easy. I'm tired. And this, that, and the other. And then when you're put in that position, and it's like you get called out, and then you had such a good session. Like, I don't know, just the movement, and, you know, just sometimes you have those spars, and you move around, and you're like, I don't know. Everything flows beautifully.
Yeah, definitely. And do you know what? Is there some of that psychological? You think because you know you're not driving to the gym going right today. It's going to be hard. You're going. Like, I'm going to. So it's almost like not in your mind. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's probably I mean, there's definitely some psychological like aspects to that, but it's just like it's also you get. I kind of call it like pre-session anxiety. Like sometimes before you go to the session, you're just like. Like I just, you know, I get this all the time. Like going doing like my own training sometimes. Like I just really can't be. And you go and you just have a really good workout, and it's always those ones you don't expect to be good that always end up actually coming out and being like really really good. And it's those ones because what I think it is when you've gone in there, you set your expectations really low.
Yeah. And
you've been like, oh, I'm just gonna take it easy. I'm just gonna this, and then because of that, you outperform yourself, and then it makes you realise, oh fucking hell, I'm a lot fucking stronger or fitter than I thought I was. I'm a bit more this, and so I think there's those little psychological kind of lift ups that it gives you, and then you kind of walk away from the gym feeling great.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with that because you are pushing yourself every session, but if you go in there every session with that mindset of like, it's going to be another hard day, that's exhausting in itself.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
100%.
But I think when we met maybe when we met, maybe we met.
That was actually a perfect example for myself as well. But carry on.
For me, yeah, because like that came to mind. Like I was there and I was tired, man. I thought it was a Saturday originally. It worked out it was a Sunday.
Yeah.
I was planning on taking it easy today. I beasted myself the day before, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, turned up and I'm like, same thing. Like I'm gonna fucking.
I thought it was a masterclass, so we're just gonna chat to him.
Yeah. Oh, did you? Right. Okay.
I didn't think we were doing pads, so. Like, I thought he was just going to run us through loads of stuff. So I went and did, there's a boxing gym up the road in Victoria called Jab. And so I went and did like a fucking savage session there. Like a couple of like 10 till 11. Then we literally straight on the train to Kingston. And that thing started like 12-1-ish, didn't it? Yeah. And I was just like, oh yeah, this is going to be sat, like thinking it was literally we was going to sit down and have a coffee almost. And he was going to talk us through his life. I thought it was like almost like a meet and greet.
Yeah.
And then he was like, right, everyone get your gloves and start warming up. And I was like, hey?
And the warm-up, by the way, for anyone, he didn't take the warm-up. Someone else warmed up, like 10-star jumps, hit the bag, 7 shots. I was like, oh,
sucking intervals on the bag and all of this. And I was like, I've got nothing left.
Yeah.
It was just,
I went and hit what do they call it, the floor-to-ceiling bag, because everyone's lumping up the bag. I thought, no, I'm going to go on this one and pick this about a bit.
I mean, I've boxed long enough now that I can make it look like I'm working really hard. And it's like, and it's like the bag's like not even swinging.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what's the up? I was a pro, me. Yeah. But it was a great day, wasn't it? Touching on the thing. And the way he did pads was good. Kieran, the other guy with the pads,
he was
short
good,
black guy.
Yeah.
He's been on the podcast since, actually. Shout out Kieran.
Really, nice geezer.
Another Kieran.
Really nice geezer.
Really fun guy. And we'll probably do an episode too because we could have gone for hours. I might have gone on a wee rant about KSI on that one too, so check that out. Check that out.
Is this the fight we're going to see next? Is this the fight we're going to see next?
I mean, if he's paying, I'm playing. You know what I'm saying? But maybe we'll see. But like, no, but with the pads and stuff, like when you go in there, first of all, Nigel Benn's 61. He said he's nearly 62, right? Looks like he's about 40, right?
Yeah, he's great shape. Really, he's great, Nick.
Well, what he did with me, he went like this and he was moving something specific. 4 here, blah, blah, and he went, no, look, put your hands there. And he sort of did a jab to your body to make a point. And you go, all right, Nigel. Like, that's him at 61. What was he like in his prime? Powerful man, fit man. So shout out Nigel Benn. But the pad work, when you're in there with someone who's obviously boxed at that level, we've all been in there with pad guys that have never done much. 1, 2, move to the left, million things. With him, it was very simple, I found, like, which, again, you said it your style, my style plays.
Power in the basics, isn't it? The fundamentals, like, you don't need to be like, doing a million more things.
Move body, move,
move this way. Exactly. Just simple and effective.
And by the way, at the end of the round, I was going to say I was, you know what, but it was our round.
Yeah,
it was done
blowing.
Right.
Just say, blowing, mate, yeah. Especially when he's finished, he's like, come on, 4! Yeah. And he's like, 4! I said 4. You're like, I'm done.
Bell goes. He goes 4 here. 4 here. You're like, nice. Didn't hear that bell.
It was funny. Yeah, it was funny.
But shout out, that was a good one. We'll get onto the fight in a bit. We might do a separate bit to put it out quicker for the fight. But you know, we'll say a little bit now just to see how clever we are or ain't. Like, what's your prediction for the fight coming up between Conor Benn and Chris Eubanks Jr.?
My thing with this is it all depends on how the weight affects Eubank. Eubank should win. Like, my gut feeling is that he should win. He's obviously a bit older, a bit wiser. He's had much better experience, but then he's not looked great. Obviously, when he lost to like Liam Smith, didn't look great in that fight. And I reckon Conor Benn is going to be like Liam Smith on steroids, because Conor Benn's passionate.
See, now you said on steroids.
Fiery. Wait, I didn't even think about that. Mate, on it. That's funny, mate. That's funny. Yeah, so because he's just gonna come with it. Like, he's coming for that knockout. So I reckon if it goes past 4 rounds, if Ben doesn't knock him out in 4 rounds, I reckon Eubank takes it.
I got you. Yeah.
And I reckon it'll be a late stoppage.
Well, just for context, we're recording this. What is it today? It's Tuesday
It's
before the
Tuesday,
Saturday
so
of the
it's on
fight, which this will come out after. So just so we're not trying to be clever after the fact or dumb after the fact, whatever. But it'll come out as we go. But you're going what?
So I reckon Conor Benn within 4. That's what I've got my money on, just because the odds are so good.
Have you?
I've just done.
What odds are we talking? What'd you get for that?
So for a first round knockout, 66-1. So like 10 on that. Round 2, it drops down to like 45, and then so even round 4, it's still like 45-1. So I've just put like 10ers on each of those.
Wow.
Because if it does come in, like, do you know what I mean?
Like, I might be rooting for Conor Benn after
Yeah.
this. Yeah. Be your mate.
But that's the thing is, so that's the thing, and I was like, oh god. So I put my money on that, and then the thing is, if it's not really worth betting on Eubank for a later like win, because there's no odds on it.
Right,
the
I
odds
bet.
are shit. So I just put my money on there. So either way, I'm going to enjoy the fight.
That's it. I'm going to enjoy the fight. I'm going to be watching it. I know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But the thing is, because obviously Conor works with Dan Lawrence, doesn't he? So who's like one of the fucking top S&C coaches. So he looks like a savage. Like
is this the guy that's in the videos, the well-spoken guy that's out there with him?
Yeah.
Right.
So Dan Lawrence, yeah. So he's like one of the elites. He does all like the Matchroom S&C and stuff. Like he's one of the best. And Conor's looking like an absolute savage. And again, he's big, strong, and he's eating up. But I think he walks around probably naturally at about 160 anyway. So he walks around at that weight, so he can get even more powerful and probably cut down to what he needs to fight at now, and then still like rehydrate, bigger and stronger. Yeah. So he will be on the night. Yeah, he will be very strong, very powerful, and very energized. So Chris is going to have his work out in those first kind of 4 to 6 rounds, so it'll be very interesting.
Well, as we both said, we'll both be watching it anyway.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
But just before we start to close out, mate, like, what's your thinking with the state of boxing now? Because, like, obviously, Eubank Senior, which we might touch on in a minute if we get into the fight sort of as and now, so we can put it out before the fight. But, like, Eubank Senior's obviously not just going hard on this fight, which is separate in a way, but he's also sort of calling people. I don't know if you've seen the thing he did with Carl Froch, where he's sort of like
they've had a bit of a back and forth, haven't they?
Well, he's on Carl Froch. He's basically saying, "You're like me. You're a standard bearer. You should sort of." And look, I'm not word for word what he's saying, but along the lines of like, stand up with me and like, let's get rid of all this stuff. What do you think about all that stuff?
I mean, it's a tough one, because at the end of the day, you're looking at people's health. At the end of the day, obviously, when you're looking at what's happened to people like Michael Watson, Gerald McLennan, Nick Blackwell, like. And then obviously we've had a couple of deaths last year and kind of early this year, I think we did, with brain injuries in sport. And it's an interesting debate. I think that there is a lot to be said for not cutting huge amounts of weight, because obviously when you dehydrate to those levels that people are cutting down to, you dehydrate the cerebral fluid around your brain that protects your brain, and that's what's creating a lot of the brain injuries. But then it's also that a lot of that damage gets done in sparring. So kind of what we touched on before about people not going so hard in sparring and in training. I think it is. I don't think you should be going absolute balls to wall in sparring all the time. I think every now and again having a hard spar, but I think there's a lot to be learned from actually just like light touch sparring, just moving, getting used to actually just moving around with people and learning to get your eye in and stuff. And learning to respond to punches and stuff without actually taking absolute licks. Because it's just that sustained trauma to the brain that's obviously really bad.
Yeah. And with the weight cutting that ties in too.
And again, the weight cut. Yeah. So if you're drained, then your brain is obviously dehydrated. That's just gonna.
And you know yourself, right? Like we've all sparred where you're losing a bit of weight, and like you know, like it's normally when you're young and you're a boxer and you feel strong, someone can hit you with anything and you walk through it in the gym, don't you? And it's like, but then like, you know, you might be, I don't know, like the week of a fight or a bout or whatever, and you've got like, you know, you're down on weight, and someone just throws a light jab, and you there's something to it where you're just like, oh man, like this ain't good today, you know? And I think like if you're taking them for, like Muhammad Ali is the obvious example. He's like the way he finished his life. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen a documentary called Muhammad and Larry, I think it's called, or Larry and Muhammad, one of the two. I don't think so. So it's like the lead up to Muhammad Ali fighting Larry Holmes. Yeah. And he's clearly like already full-blown Parkinson's. And he's like, he's talking to the camera. And I'm not exaggerating. If I'm exaggerating, it ain't much. He's sort of going, yeah. And Larry, and it's just like, whoa, who the fuck let him even fight? Do you know what I mean? Like, let alone like years before that.
There's a really interesting book actually, and I probably advise you not to read it if you're a combat athlete. It's called Damage. Yeah, it's called Damage, and it's all about.
I know the book.
It's all about CTE in athletes, and it's really interesting. So like Mickey Ward goes in there and he talks about it, and he's like, I know that I'm already on this path now. I've got huge signs of CTE in my brain from my brain scans, and they say, well, they also say that about, kind of talk about Mickey Ward with Arturo Gatti, because obviously he supposedly like committed suicide, but by the end, a couple of years up to by the time he was dying, I know he was kind of drinking and drugs and stuff heavily, but his mood was so erratic, which is one of the key signs of CTE, and it's also that impulsivity, because you're just like just constantly, and so that's a lot of what kind of came into the reason. What they say came into the reason of how he ended up committing suicide, and whether he did or didn't is a whole other question.
Well, he's like, if anyone's going to have CTE,
but you look at his wars with Mickey Ward were just savage.
But they say he could barely see at the end as well. Yeah. Someone, I was watching a documentary once about like the controversy around his death. And someone that knew him well, I don't know if it was his mate, it might have even been his brother actually, one of them talking, and he said like if he picked up a phone to look at, like if you text him, he'd have to sort of like hold it at a certain angle. Like, aside from CT, that's not a fun life, is it? Do you know what I mean?
No,
like at the end of the day. And he was a young guy, I think he was in his 30s when he died, wasn't
he? Yeah, but then that's the thing, is he'd been boxing since he was like first put pants on, and that's the thing is, and that's what I'm saying, is that when you're training, you don't need to be knocking lumps out of each other, because again, from any form of like longevity, and again, that's why I look at like Floyd Mayweather, and he gets a lot of criticism, but if you look at early Floyd Mayweather, he was a savage. Like when you look at the way he just took Arturo Gatti apart, he was a savage. And then as he started getting a little bit older, he was like, I don't need to be getting into wars like this. I can just outbox people.
And he's also fighting bigger guys too.
Exactly. And so he was just like, I don't need to be taking these injuries. I don't need to be taking this trauma, because, again, I want to be able to spend time with my kids. I actually want to be able to live my life when I'm a bit older.
But also, hard sparring is a different thing too. Like, me and you can spar hard. Doesn't mean we've got to punch each other's head out.
Exactly.
If one of us chins the other and it goes, you don't have to follow him and finish him. Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
That's still a hard spar. Go to the body hard and all that business.
Yeah, exactly. There's a million ways to do it, and it's I think that's maybe starting to gain popularity, or is it? Hopefully, it should start to, because the less people are just battering each other for the sake of battering each other, it probably is for the better.
Well, also, it's not about, if me and you spar on a Wednesday afternoon in the gym, no one gives a fuck. We're getting ready for something. Like,
exactly. It's when you're in it's when you're in the ring. That's what you want to save yourself for. But then also, kind of coming back to what we were saying before about how you're in such a kind of sometimes like a really savage calorie deficit, that means that you're not giving your body the nutrients to actually recover and repair. So you're taking this damage to the brain, and you're taking these traumatic injuries to the brain, but then you're not giving your body the nutrients, the building blocks to actually repair the damaged tissues as well. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword on that as well. So
I'll tell you one thing I've noticed as well, whether it's directly related to being in a calorie deficit or dehydrated or whatever, but you know, like sometimes when you're in sparring, you feel good-ish, but like there's an element of, I can see what you're going to do, I can't do anything about it. And it's not so much I can't, it's almost that I can't be bothered. Do you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? I know you're going to throw that right hand, then it's probably going to land. I'm just going to damage limitation.
Yeah,
Whereas I
yeah.
probably should step to the side and do
But
something.
again, that comes down to energy, isn't it? Because that's all calories are, is energy. So sometimes you don't actually have the energy to want to move out of the way.
Right, I'd rather
And
take
you're
the
just
shot.
like, yeah. Because and they say that. So when you get into those low, like those high like calorie deficits, you get to that point, and you're just like, your body will try and save every ounce of energy by making you move as little as possible. Like little things like fidgeting. Like if anyone knows that when you get high, like you get towards like the end of a fight camp, you don't even want to fidget. You can't be. You're just sitting there like.
Oh, you got an itch on your ear roll and you can't be
You
bothered to
just
scratch
like,
it.
yeah, I'll just take that.
I'll just let it itch, yeah. I'll scratch it tomorrow. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But I guess the other side of that, going back to the Chris Eubank thing, what he's opposed to too, is like the way people are acting and carrying themselves and whatever.
Yeah.
Which I get too. But one thing that comes to mind is like, as we're filming this, we're a few days after the Ben Whittaker thing. So he's just won his fight, which, before we get to that even, like early stoppage or whatever, do you think that was a bit of an early stoppage?
Well, I'd probably say no. Like, if you looked at Cameron, and Cameron even after, I would say it was an early stoppage. Sorry, mate, you make yourself comfy there.
Free man podcast.
Yeah. Bruno, lie down, you nutter.
Named after Frank Bruno, was that coincidence?
Nah, just coincidence. He's a rescue.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's a rescue.
Yeah,
He
big
just
Bruno.
happens to be called Bruno.
Dog of the pod.
Yeah, no, dribbling over everything, great. But yeah, I mean, no, because you look at, and it's the same as that when you look at like Groves Frock, like people will always claim it's an early stoppage, but realistically, Cameron was wobbled hard because obviously Whittaker did that slip, beautiful right hand. It's only downhill from there. Yeah, you might save him and be like, oh no, it's an early stoppage, but he's not recovering from that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I hear that. I think I would go on if I feel like it was slightly early, but at the same time it was only going one way.
Yeah.
And the other side of that as well, if you watch Liam Cameron when it happens, he don't complain.
Yeah. So you know it's and that's how you know.
Yeah.
Because
He was hurt bad.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of them. It's like, what, you're just gonna leave him to keep taking damage? And
Yeah.
again, and it's that because the funny thing about boxing, whereas you don't get the same amount of levels of CTE and things like MMA, is because when someone gets wobbled, they don't have like a standing eight or
No,
any of that.
that's
so if
dangerous.
you get wobbled and then someone comes on and puts that pressure on you again, you get stopped. Now, with obviously boxing, you get 10 seconds. Say if you get dropped, you get 10 seconds to get back up, shake out, which is just enough time to kind of crack on and sort yourself out. And then you get banged again and get banged again, and some fights don't even have like a max of a 3 count rule.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's
Which
it,
means you can take 5 or 6 standing eights, or 5. You get dropped 5 or 6 times and keep getting up. So your brain's just getting smashed,
100%.
and that's the stuff again that causes that brain injury.
Yeah, it
whereas
does.
you're probably better off just getting dropped once and then being like that
That's
with
it,
the Cameron. I think refs nowadays as well are taught to not let things go on too long because it's better off to just have another fight.
I hear that. And also on that card as well, I don't know if you saw the Big Phrase one before that. He knocked
I didn't.
out.
No.
That to me was a perfect stoppage. Like
Yeah.
the guy complained, he pushed the ref, he grabbed the ref. Big like 6'5" heavyweight,
Yeah.
isn't he? Do you know what I mean? I think his name's Tete. I can't remember his Ebenezer Tete is his name.
Yeah.
He but Big Phrase dropped him heavy, like with a shot, one of them ones on the top of the head, and then he kind of followed him. And he was gone, and the ref stopped it, and he was complaining or whatever. But to me, that one was perfect.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's just it's better to just live to fight another day. Like And sometimes, and that's boxing, you get caught with a shot. That's what it takes.
Do you
but
think
then,
what fight it is comes into play? So, for example, again, like if you
If
for
it's
example,
a-
a 4-rounder versus a world title.
Yeah, I think if it's like a world title fight, if it's something of that kind of caliber, I think you are better off. I think you are better off just giving it a bit longer, just because of the stakes at hand. But then I still think at the same time, if you get dropped, say more than one, like in quite close time of each other, I think it's best for the ref just to stop it.
Yeah.
Especially if I can heavy. Well, the good thing about heavyweights is they don't need to cut weight as such, so at least they're
different.
always fueled up and and they're always
might be too
hydrated.
fueled up,
So
some of them boys.
yeah. You might say that about Conor Benn.
Yeah. You said it. I didn't mention nothing. But like, when we go back to like the Ben Whittaker one, the other side of it, what I meant as well was like the way you've seen the finish, right? Where he runs over to the corner.
Yeah.
Before
and
I
like,
say
puts his head through and just
what do you
be
think
like,
of that?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's gamesmanship, isn't it? But it's the tough thing about boxing is adrenaline high, emotions are running high, especially when you think about from the last fight and the way the fight finished to now. Like, I think he's had a fucking hard time, Whittaker. Like, a very hard time. He's been dropped by Adidas, which I only noticed that the other day because he's not wearing any Adidas things anymore. So I think he's been dropped by like Adidas, and he's even saying he's had a really hard time with like, quote unquote, like friends and that weren't that close that will just kind of abandon him. And he's probably been through the absolute wars like emotionally this last few months. So I think for him to then finally put it to bed, his emotions are running high, and he's obviously had a lot of shit from their corner. So I think he's run orange. But fuck you, you wanna like, and I think it's one of those ones like in hindsight, like he'll probably apologise after and be like, yeah, I didn't mean that. Like, but I don't know when you're just on such a high after such a performance, after all this build up to it, it's one of those. It's easier to sit here as an armchair fan and be like, oh, you shouldn't do that. That's just nasty. Yeah. But then when you're in the ring, when you're in that, like, when you're in just that bubble of that moment, it's much harder to really try and like actually contain yourself.
See, I'm going to be that little armchair. How's the voice? Do the voice again? No, I'm not going to. I'm going to be that guy. I can't have you after that. I got to be honest.
It's just hard though, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. I know what you're saying, but to me, like, you know, if you act like you showed who you are, I can't have that. Like, when Eubank goes Warriors code and we should conduct ourselves in a certain way, I agree with it, and I just go like, you've just won a fight and you're running over, sticking your head out the ring. Like, I don't.
Again, like I totally agree, and that kind of comes down to you as a person. The person. And again, as you say, you're kind of showing who you are. That is just what he must be like as a person. Like,
that's it.
He don't get fired. He's just exactly.
You know? And I'm sure he's not bothered with his 1.3 million followers. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
100%.
It is what it is. But like, I tell you one that rubbed me wrong as well, which I've never heard anyone speak about, is when Liam Smith, I forgot his name. Liam Smith beat Chris Eubank in the
first one, and that was
the way they acted, all this cheering, the four brothers or however many of them jumped.
Exactly.
Like,
but that's the
not
thing
for
is,
me, man.
Chris, exactly, and again, it's a show, it's show business, like. And one thing that Chris Eubank is incredible at is selling the show. Look at this fucking night, this Conor Benn fight now, like the interest in that fight because of what he's done is insane now, like. He has probably brought an extra 10 million people that will now pay to watch that fight because of what he's done. They had no interest in that fight before. Like, you've now got friends talking about that fight who don't even know who he is. Like, apart from, oh yeah, it's Chris Eubank. Like, and now they're acting like, oh, they know exactly who he is, and all of it. Like, and that's the thing is, and people are now interested because of everything that's gone on with it and because of what he's done to sell that fight. So
I just think, like, how far do you go to whore yourself out? Like, in terms of, like, and I've said this a couple of times, and it's like a broken record, or maybe just an old man, I don't know. But like, you shouldn't do that, you know. But like, how far do you go? And the example I gave to the other Kieran on here as well was like, okay, if I said to you now, I'm going to pay you 100 grand, right? Let me take a picture. Yeah, fucking sweet, right? No problem. Okay, now take your shirt off. Now take all your clothes off. And now let that geezer over there cuddle you while you do it. Whoa! Like, at what point do you stop hoeing yourself out for it? Do you see what I'm saying? Now, I know it's a bad comparison, but
I think that very much depends on... I think it depends on where you're at in your career, how much money you're actually going to make for that.
But that's what I'm saying. How much money does it matter? Where's your morals?
But then it also depends on what your morals are, because your moral code might be like, I don't give a fuck about it. Like, because some people, the way some people do look at that is like, well, it's a fight at the end of the day. I don't give a fuck about him until after the fight. As you hear a lot of them say, which is why you see people fighting at bloody press conferences and stuff and throwing tables and it's like, are you doing that for the clout just to build a bit of hype around the fight, or are you doing that because you genuinely think that other geezer's a prick and you want to smash his face in? So I think there's a lot that kind of comes into it, but I I don't know. I don't actually think Chris has really hauled himself back because I actually think that was fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, no. To clarify, I don't. With the egg thing, I'm like, I don't
think that's
so.
fucking hilarious.
I don't think so.
Again, because it's a bit of a fuckery for him because obviously having that first fight lined up, there's a whole undercard of fights which has then been cancelled. So when you're talking about people who are dedicating their lives to the sport and at that level given so much to then have a fight of that magnitude taken away, that they've probably sold 500-600 tickets for, because of the when you look at the lower level fighters on that, they're probably on a similar sort of contract where they will have to sell 500 tickets. We had a few Dan Azaxo was on one of the, I'm trying to think which, Andy Joshua undercards, and he was a floater on that, so he didn't have to fight, but he still had to sell 300 tickets.
Mate,
it's fucking wild.
Well, when you've got someone on the bill like that, it's one of them, isn't it? Because it makes it easier to sell your mates tickets, doesn't
you?
Because
on those bills, it makes it a lot easier because everyone will come and and the thing is, it's a really good event, it's a really good show, and that's the thing with like when I used to box on like Queensbury and some of the unlicensed shows where they're in these amazing venues. I used to sell 100, 120 tickets easily because people would bring all their families and their friends. So it used to be like chatting to like my group of friends. It was some of their best nights out. Same with my family. Like all of my family would come. They'd all get ringside tables. Everyone would get dressed up.
Right.
And I was notorious for it. Like with all the promoters loved me for it because I would always have I'd have like 100 people at every one, and it was like always really really loud, and it was excellent because people's like friends and their family friends and all them would come because it was such a nice event. Like I said, it was all table service and it was like a massive thing.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you say
and then again, you then go to try and sell tickets to go to York Hall,
that's
which
what I was
is the biggest shithole ever.
Right, I was going to say York Hall's got
Like,
this big prestige, but like, if you've ever been there, for anyone like us who've been there probably a million times, right? It's not what you'd think, what it says on the tin, if you like, is it? When you get there, it's like, oh.
It's not even much worse than that fucking school hall that fucking, in Tottenham. Like, it's no different. It is just like a school hall sort of setup, like a public hall.
You've been in the change rooms there, right? Have you been in the change rooms there? I guess we could call them change rooms.
We had 3 people when I thought, all 4 of my pro fights are in there, and there's a video of me warming up with Baz. We didn't have enough space in the change room, so we're warming up on the stage next to the walk-in. I'm in a coat. I'm in a coat because it's so fucking cold. It's the middle of like November, and I'm like doing pads with this coat on. And it's just. Yeah, it's
looking at the crowd going, I'm a pro fighter, mate.
Yeah. This is the sexy side of sport. Yeah, this is what I dreamed about when I was a kid. Yeah, it's mad.
I had one exactly like that with DeGale versus Groves. My mate was on that card as a floater. Didn't end up fighting, but I was happy as a sandboy. I was there. I watched that fight. But some of the other boys from our club were moaning, like, oh, fuck, I wouldn't have come.
Yeah.
It's better fighting our mate's 4-rounder, but there you go.
Nuts.
It's a tough life, is what we're saying. But mate, listen, I really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah. Cheers for the time, mate. I really enjoyed it.
Before we finish, I always ask the most important question. This decides whether we stay friends or not. And
I'm not going to give you £100.
Yeah, 1,000.
Yeah.
But seeing as where we are in the world, you might give me a good answer on this. But you grew up all over the world, so we'll see. Which football team you support?
Aston Villa.
Okay, curveball.
Aston Villa. So my dad's from Walsall in Birmingham.
Okay.
So yeah, all my dad's side of the family live up in Birmingham.
Really? I was just there a couple of weeks ago, Walsall.
Yeah. So we've got FA Cup coming up, Man City the weekend. We're having a great couple of seasons. We're Unai Emery's turned it around for us.
Is that right? All right, let's not get too
Who are you?
deep,
Chelsea?
Chelsea's the right answer, but Aston Villa, I take that.
Don't know right, but my housemate is Tottenham, so feel free to smash the place.
I was going to say, wait till I see him, but mate, this has been brilliant.
It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate you, mate. I always finish with a fist up like this.
Guys, actually, just before we go, with Aries, we're doing a giveaway, so we've got a signed glove from Nigel Benn from when we potentially first met each other. And if you go to Aries Boxwear on Instagram, just like the page and then comment the people that you'd like to punch in the face with the glove and being the chance to win a signed glove from the Dark Destroyer.
Bosh, and if I win it, it's not rigged at all, I promise
you. Yeah, definitely not.
Hands up, mate. Squeeze the neck. Boom!